Okay, here we go, guys. This mic's going to stick with me. We've now been joined by William Byron, driver of the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, who won the spring Darlington race earlier this year, has now joined us. William, last night you had the chance to take in some Friday Night Lights. Tell us a little bit about that, and do you enjoy having a few Fridays a season that you get to do something that probably feels a little bit of a throwback to your high school days?
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys letting us have some time at home on Fridays. Jeff Gordon invited me out there to the game, and I grew up in that area. I didn't go to that school, but grew up in that area, and that game was pretty cool to watch. Their team is really good, and it was on ESPNU, so it was a fun game, and just nice to kind of get away and do something a little bit different. I just love this weekend in general. It's just so nice to have time at home and be able to drive down here, and it's my favorite racetrack, one of them. I always say this place and maybe Charlotte, but yeah, this is a really fun place to come race.
All right, we're now going to go to questions for William. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic to you, and we're going to start with Greg.
I'll start with me for a change. Greg Engel with Forbes. We couldn't watch that because I'm a Spectrum customer last night. But anyway, your playoffs have begun. Obviously, you've got a little bit of momentum, a lot. As you think about the rare times when you're not in the playoffs, and I think it was 2020 you weren't, can you compare what it's like to live inside the bubble so far as opposed to living outside the playoff bubble when it comes this time of year?
Yeah, the only year I didn't make the playoffs was my rookie year, but yeah, I think my rookie year was a lot of learning, and I felt like the last 10 races were just a chance to get better and not have some spotlight and some pressure on me. So every year since then, I've been in the playoffs and made it through the rounds to some extent. So I just want to get through the rounds. I just want to take it one step at a time. I was listening to some of the other guys this week, and it's very true that this is a long season in itself. So I feel like 10 races is a long time, and you just got to be peaking at the right times, and that really starts this weekend, and then just executing throughout the races.
All right, additional questions for William? Bob? All right, thanks, Bob.
I have two. The first is, do you come in here with good memories of the race you won or bad memories of the race you didn't?
Yeah, unfortunately, TV was showing when I crashed here or blew a tire in 2021. So that was a tough memory in the playoffs, but we were able to overcome it and advance at Bristol. But yeah, I think it's just I think a little bit about the race here in the spring, but to me, so much has changed, and we've developed a little bit different setup. Still same kind of general foundation that we had, but it's changed. So I feel like for us, I don't think too much about the spring. I think about last fall and kind of the notes and looking at who is fast and what the track did as it changed. So that's kind of what I look at going in this weekend more so than what we did in the spring.
And I'm also curious, I know we asked you about the accidents at Daytona the other day, but I'm curious if you saw Ryan Preece today, if you had a chance to talk to him. We had a chance to talk to him. He showed us his bloodshot and bruised eyes. I'm curious if you'd seen those and what you, even though it's starting to look at knowing that he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a different sight than we've seen in a while. I will say the sprint car wrecks and some of the midget wrecks, I see guys that have that happen. Not very often, but sometimes when they have flips. So different sight definitely for a NASCAR driver to go through. But, just hopefully we can continue to make it better. I think Ryan Blaney's wreck and Ryan Preece is great to see those guys be okay, and we've made a lot of progress. But I still feel like just there's some elements of that crash that could be a little bit better. Like we talked about on Thursday, just the interaction with the grass and all those things. So hopefully keep making it better.
All right, Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. When it comes to the playoffs, do you adjust your schedule or anything to kind of get more streamlined and focused on racing, or is it just business as normal, Monday through Friday, basically?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I think during the summertime, over the last 2 years, I've done a lot of extracurricular racing. So I've raced around 12 times the last 2 years in total throughout the year. So most of those are over the summer. So I'm home quite a bit more in the playoffs, and I feel like my schedule is more committed to the Cup team and going to the simulator and being at all the meetings. So I try to manage manage what I'm doing throughout the week a lot more in the playoffs, because it does take more effort and time with your team to prepare for each race to make sure you're as good as you can be.
And then obviously the spring race is during the day. This is primarily going to be at night. But is there much difference between the track and the conditions and everything?
Yeah, I think the day races here are very slick. There's not a lot of grip available, and I think the track improves a little bit as the race goes on, but this place definitely gains a lot of grip at night. So I think this place changes quite a bit as you get deeper into the race, and that's, I think, what we could improve as a team. So I've had a lot of good runs here. A lot of them are in the daytime, in the early parts of the race, if it's a night race. So just got to improve on what we need for balance as we go.
All right, we're going to go Lee, Alex, and then Steve Post. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, CatchFence.com. How difficult is it to learn to race the racetrack? Because that's the one thing the drivers always say to us, you have to race the racetrack.
Yeah, I think it's just not getting over your skis. I think it really is easy to hit the wall and rush the throttle or drive in car length or so too deep. So it's a challenge, but I feel like that's always the priority here is feeling your race car and feeling what it's doing. And you can't really control what's around you that much, but air is definitely tough here. It's hard to find clean air, so that's a disadvantage. But I think it's just trying to manage the risk, and as the race goes on, you got to run against the wall more and more because there's more clean asphalt up there. So it just is a matter of kind of being patient.
And, following up with what Bob said, would you rather discuss the safety implementations from NASCAR and, the crash studies, what have you, when the season is over? So, it's not in your head when you're tackling these 10 races.
Yeah, I don't think, for me, selfishly, I think in the playoffs, I'm not really worried about my safety. I'm going to put it all out there and see what happens. And that was even true last year when there were some, questions about concussions and things like that. So I think this year my commitment level is high, and I'm not worried about it, even if the car was dangerous. I don't believe it is. So I think it's in a lot better place than it was last year. And but yeah, I'll probably listen in on some of those meetings, but my care level right now is not super high with that stuff.
All right, Alex.
Hey, William, right here. Obviously, Chase isn't in the drivers' playoffs, but he's in the owners' championship. Has he or anyone at Hendrick Motorsports given you an indication of how important that is to him and that 9 team?
I haven't heard from him how important it is, but I do know that it is, and it's important to the team as a whole. So yeah, I mean, those guys they always do a good job executing races, and I think they'll put a lot of effort into the last 10 races and try to help us out when we can. And I don't expect their effort level to be any different.
All right, we'll close with Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, William, Steve Post, MRN. You have 20 minutes of practice coming up before qualifying. How do you approach this practice session?
It's a challenging one for sure because the tires go through such a transition here in 20 minutes. 20 minutes is about 30 laps, plus or minus a few. So we'll try to go out right away. There's a little bit of rubber on the racetrack, and it's probably gotten cleaned off after the cars went out for qualifying. So for us, Group A, there's a slight advantage maybe in qualifying to being faster in the second round. So goal number 1, have a good practice. Number 2, get through in the top 5 and make the necessary adjustments, if any, for the second round. So for us, it's just one step at a time. But I think trying to get a good read on the car, try not to blister the tires off the car in the first 8 or 9 laps, and have a good feel. I mean, really, I would like to see a lot of pace from lap 15 to 25. That's what I'm focused on today.
All right.